Previously on Dracula.
Oh! My name is Jonathan Harker. I want to go to the castle.
You'll soon find out what it costs to attack me.
I want to go to the castle.
The last time we saw Jonathan Harker, he had just stormed Dracula's castle and was on his way back to London with a semi-conscious Mina and a flying machine built by Dracula using Da Vinci's designs. I guess Jonathan piloted this thing safely home and laid low for a week. Dracula has been out getting things in order for his master plan, which includes rehiring the same goons that failed to protect him the first time he got killed again. He also employs the help of an inmate at the asylum Seward works at. Seward was briefly mentioned in the opening of the first game but never shown. Now I'm guessing the creators really liked the character Renfield from the original story, but spoilers, he died, so they created this guy named Hopkins, who is just a surrogate Renfield. Jonathan still has the dragon ring he found in the cemetery and Dracula still wants it. It opens with Jonathan checking out Dracula's other hideout by himself. Almost everything about the look and feel of this game is the same. It only cemented my feelings that this was probably meant to be one game that was cut up to maybe meet a deadline or something. It feels less slow and reserved than its predecessor. There are more characters, a bigger sense of danger and adventure. Many of these characters don't make it to the end. It actually has some semblance of a 3-act structure, whereas the first one was like,
I want to go to the castle.
There you are. The door is open.
Since this is sort of a do-over, a second do-over, it opens the same way as the last Dracula and the novel preceding it. Mina is of course gone again, because as we know, all decent women exist solely to cater to men unless they are corrupted by free thought, wherein the only cure is a phallus. Come on, she's a woman, what's she gonna do, fight back?
Help me to save Mina. You've seen her, you see how vulnerable she is.
The fuck, man? Like, all respect to Bram Stoker. People like him, sure. Vampires, cool, teeth, nice, boobs, whatever. But since Dracula, vampire stories put their women in two categories. They're either a virginal victim or a sacrilegious whore. And pop culture so rarely deviates from this trope. Don't even show it. No. Ooh, don't do it. Who has been a positive female role in vampire fiction? Well, Buffy. Yeah. All credit to Buffy. Back on point. Oh, do I got chippies in this bag? Oh, I got chippies. Back on point. With the bigger story, there comes a lot of needed exposition. But this sequel retains a lot of the more bizarre choices of the first one and even exaggerates them in some points. In the first game, Dracula leaves notes for Jonathan, essentially trying to discourage him, telling him how he's gonna take Mina and kill him and all that stuff. All this while he's actually inside Dracula's house, and there isn't much stopping him from confronting Jonathan in person. What's threatening about that? I get letters like that all the time. Is this my mail? How long has this been here? Fan mail. If only I had time to read all of them. This time around, Dracula saw fit to build an elaborate set and make a short film with himself and Mina, and make Jonathan watch it instead of killing him. Dracula's, he's a weird guy. He's into some weird stuff, you know. Even for Dracula, that's a weird move. Like, I thought he was just here for Mina and kill Jonathan and then he's out, but then he comes up with this terrible, very clever, terrible idea. In the first one, well, Dracula made that Da Vinci flying machine just as a hobby, I guess. In this one, he makes a fully functioning robot in his likeness. But Dracula is still perfectly capable of coming right for Jonathan. He could just mind control him, punch him in the face, it's over. But instead, he'd rather make startling advances in robotics in order to dispatch him. There's this point in your evil plan where there's so much overkill that it compromises the integrity of your whole plan. You've got him in your house. That's a good step one, I know this. Jonathan is vulnerable. He's in a place he's not familiar with. You've got the home advantage. Punch to the face. But you know, it's Dracula. He could do any kind of magic to the face. Dracula to the face. Side note, the robot has this key in his finger that is remarkably similar to the opening of another French production, The Fifth Element. Don't try to be a sneak.
Don't try to sneak things by me.
I just think Dracula isn't the best strategist.
All your attempts to harm me are so pathetic. I tell you that nothing you can do will prevent my union with Mina. I condemn you to be burnt alive in this hellhole.
Yeah, just don't use that auxiliary exit you have the key for. Hey, hey.
Where are you going, you dick?
Dracula's gameplay has mostly remained intact in its sequel, with a couple new additions. So if you're going into this with the idea that you'll be in for much of the same, then you might be caught off guard with the changes. Well, this feels familiar. What's that? That's creepy. What? This is different. I'm afraid of change. What do I do? Well, I think this was a neat way of throwing the player into some of the changes this installment goes through, both thematically and gameplay-wise.
It seems that Carfax is not quite as deserted as we thought. I see what you mean.
No, you do not. So, yes, death is very much a concern this time around. Make heavy use of saving because you're gonna see this very upsetting game over screen a lot. I mean, look how indifferent this guy is. You know, he kinda looks like Nurgle from Behemoth. You get a timer up top that counts down to your death unless you can figure out a way to save yourself. It's rarely what you think it is, so that makes it slightly frustrating. In the first instance, I'm confronted by a bat creature. I know I have a gun, so I figure, well, you got a gun, you might as well shoot the gun. You can't shoot the guy. Oh, I know. I'll pull a classic move. Shoot down the chandelier. Chandelier falls on guy. Guy dies. Nope, can't do that. I guess I could shoot the doorknob and run away. Guess that's cool too. There are also more traditional puzzles that feel a bit less inane, not contextually of course. The idea that Dracula would protect the key to his demise with a series of puzzles, of which the answers for are written in a journal, is a little silly. But the challenge is slightly more present. Like the first, there are plenty of moments that have you pixel hunting in the dark, and also like the first, this is somewhat fixed in the Steam release. But also like the first, the GOG release has a much more homogeneous and original feel, and the new one feels like an aging game with a glorified mobile game interface. It's nice to see some changes, some new things to do. Also, Jonathan Harker played it pretty safe in the last game, knocking out enemies or evading them. This one shows the cold-blooded killer that's been hiding beneath that plastic and awkward face. You know, this is another situation where I could say it's the same, but really I can't tell if it's worse or if it's that they do so much more that it makes the flaws more apparent. I don't think it's been more obvious that everyone sort of sways and waves their arms around like they're drunk.
Well, why you look so sad all the time, man? I think you're a real cool guy. No. You know, nobody else here sees it, but I see it, man. I see it.
You know a noise I really like? It's not awful or unbearable, but it does remove any hopes of genuine drama that this game had. There's no way to take this seriously.
Extremely painful!
Shit. The in-game graphics are identical to Resurrection, but that was never an issue. It still looks good, just grainy. A little grain never hurt anyone. I'm not living in some kind of HD remastered 40K ivory tower. It's still hard to see in dark areas, and if anything they included more dark areas like sewers and caves. This is only partially annoying because what this game does do great is ambience, especially this time around. You might not be able to see much, but you can hear tons of crumbling rocks and dripping water. It's very immersive. It sounds a lot like my basement without all the crying. Music is again kept pretty much confined to cutscenes, but they make it work. You spend so much time wandering around and getting lost that any music would probably loop endlessly and become unenjoyable. Similar to the last game, this one sold a lot and received high scores just because of its graphical capabilities, which is still funny to think about. There was an old Adventure Gamer review that said that the graphics were the game's highest selling point, which is surprising. I don't think any game should be sold on graphics alone. That makes no sense to me. Are these the kind of people that go see 3D movies and think, huh, I'm glad this isn't 3D? Otherwise, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. I saw Interstellar the other day. How the fuck am I supposed to understand the plot if there ain't bullets flying at me? Dracula the Last Sanctuary, or Dracula 2, is less of a sequel and more of a slightly more successful reboot. You're given the same premise and visuals but with a faster pace and some more variety to the gameplay. It's a much more complete and fully realized idea. But in giving us this full experience, it shines a light on a lot of the problems the original had. A really silly and simple plot with one-dimensional characters, cheap deaths, and very awkward animation. It certainly managed to surprise me a lot. I mean, I didn't expect robots or vampire-killing bullets. I had fun playing it, and it was unintentionally hilarious a lot of the time, and I don't think that's bad. I had an adventure. Not a deep, thought-provoking thrill ride, but I got to kill a Dracula robot. And that satisfies some deep, fundamental urge within all of us, I think. I didn't know I wanted to do that. My whole life, I didn't know. And now I have. And now that I've conquered that, I don't know what's left. I do really want pizza, though.
Paul's Amazing Pizza Pizza.
Yeah, it's me. I need pizza.
Yeah, all right, we got something fresh. You know how you like. You want maybe a blonde? We got some bread.
No. Just a regular pizza.
Wait, you kidding me?
Yep.
All right, it's a little unorthodox, but I think we can swing it. Nah, back in the pen. Whoa, this one got some fight. Oh, shit.
Oh, shit, man.
You got me in the dick.
My pizza's okay, right? Sir, you have no idea how important this pizza is to me.